Once again, Boom is here and we're playing a Signora deck suggested by a subscriber. So let's go. Our deck goes here is first to make Layla use her skill to have shield and at the same time additional cryo damage. Second is to make Dehya do elemental skill also for her summon. And lastly, Signora will deal a lot of damage by a vape created by Dehya or by Signora burst. Since when we burst with Signora, we will be able to change her elements into pyro. And with that pyro, we will be able to trigger vape when we trigger the Layla cryo damage.
I got you, boss.
Okay, for this first round, we already cast Layla's skill and we gain the shield or the 1 cryo damage support. Okay, so our dice can be used for Libenram and Setaria. And Setaria can be used for Sunyata as father. Whatever we got when we use Sunyata, we will still have 2 hand cards remaining and still trigger the Weeping Willows. So I think Lens and Storm Terror are good cards to be used here since we're running talent and I'm expecting Storm Terror to be drawn by Sunyata. Okay, let's see our dice roll for round 2. Okay, so we can use now Dehya elemental skill to summon that protection. At the same time, we can also use Storm Terror Relayer to get a talent card. So we're running 2 talent cards here, talent for Dehya and talent for Layla. Since we got talent for Dehya, we will be able to heal 2 once per end phase when Dehya's HP is below 6.
Let me weave you a verse.
And now for opponent's deck, opponents already got Cinctu's Burst. So we need to be extra careful to be able to use our skill and no dice will be wasted. So I think opponents cannot do Ganyu, FFA or Frostflake Arrow now. But we can rush kill Ganyu since we got Cryo Resonance. And I think we can deal additional more vape when the summon of Dehya attacks Ganyu during end phase. I know it's weird but I'm sacrificing Setaria here so that we will have 2 cards remaining and we will be able to draw 2 more when we trigger Weeping Willows. Okay, we got 1 jet and another the box. Okay, so the second jet. So we're now complete and our goals now is to trigger those jets via verse. So we can do it via Layla or Signora, but I think it depends since opponents start freezing us. Okay, we'll try to switch to Dehya first
I got you,
and
boss.
make a normal attack plus tune for a burst or not. So we can just use Layla and force a skill and burst here.
Completely blank. I need to get out and unwind.
Know what's my biggest fear this patch? It's that when you end your turn and opponent suddenly pull out a magic deck. You know, either Gilded or a Jet Magic. So this time I'm gonna pull out a Jet Magic and gonna surprise opponent that we can deal a lot of damage this turn. See, the lens is helping us to cast free Jet, replacing Storm Terror. And now we can burst. So that we can ensure that opponents die, we can now use burst, dealing 5 damage, killing Ganyu, and the remaining threat will be Chongyun. If only Dehya wasn't frozen, we can also deal a lot of damage via summoning again and dealing burst damage. That's a total of I think 7 damage. Since we will be triggering again that cryo damage, we will be able to draw one. Oh, we got a Sumeru resonance. So let's try to draw a Vanessa. Okay, so returning all except the arcane card, and or we got the one Vanessa. Okay, so I think we can prolong. If only we can draw another one, we can deal a lot of damage too. I think I'm gonna use Sunyata here and hope for a Jet. Sacrificing Lens and Jet, please, or not. So we don't have Jet now, and the only way to win here is to brute force opponent. Since we don't have way to generate more dice now, we will just brute force it. And I think our deck is already thin. So even if I use
I got your
Sumeru
boss.
card, the best cards we can only get there is the Vanessa and I think the 2 Lotus Crypts. Oh, I already got the Vanessa on Sumeru Resonance. So I think we're not looking any more cards now, but gonna change it since we don't have dice anymore. And then okay, so I think now we know that cards returned by a Sumeru Resonance will be added to deck. So I think that's cheating since you have 31 plus cards versus the 30 usual deck. Okay, so Vanessa arrives and we only have the last card on the deck. So let's try to finish this game. So by freezing Xingqiu, we can now finish the game. So switching to Signora to do a normal attack. But I think I can use the 3 Pyro dice for Vanessa since I will just do a normal attack on Signora. See, we got a cryo dice helping us to make burst easier. There. If I burst, I will deal 4 damage on Xingqiu. Then we can... Oh, opponent. So opponent didn't allow us to shout our battle cry, the burst for handshake. But anyway, let's test it for another deck. And this time we match up with a energy deck. Opponent chooses Raiden and Dory to generate a lot of energy. I think probable is this will be used for Shangling, so that each time opponents cast a skill, overload follows. Our deck goes here is same from the last game, which is first to make Layla use her skill first, followed by a Dehya summon, and lastly, we will stay on Signora as on-field DPS. Since we don't have cryo dice anymore, we can, I think, tune the Lotus Crypts. Although it's a great card, we must waste it so that we will not waste 3 dice. Also, let's use duplicates so that we can use Libent for ramp. And since again, our hand cards is less than 2, when we use Willows and Libent, we will draw additional 2 cards. In short, we will replenish 6 cards, 2 from Willows, 2 from Libent, and 2 for the normal draw. So by next round, we can also, I think, burst first, since we already fill up Layla's burst before we switch to Dehya and Summon. Okay, so I think we can. So I realize opponents use Dawn Winery, which is, I think it's not cost efficient. Since you're using 2 dice to switch,
Torn to oblivion.
what do I mean? The first time you activate the Dawn Winery, you will lose 2 dice for a free switch. And for the second time, we'll just break even the cost. So it takes 2 turns to recoup the cost. Although it's good on 3rd or 4th or stall, but opponent's deck uses a lot of energy and I think it's more on the aggro side. So I think it's not ideal to use Dawn Winery on that deck. Anyway, that's my only opinion and maybe opponent's plan to use Tabi or the location engine. Anyway, for our deck again, we can now switch to Dehya
Boss.
and do elemental skill for summon.
Look alive.
Oh, I'm gonna try to lessen my hand cards into 2 so that we can trigger again the Weeping Willows and we will draw 4 cards instead of 2. Then all the cards we draw can be mulligan using Sumeru Resonance and hoping we can get the Jet. Okay, for this round, since we got a lot of Cryo, let's hope for a Vanessa if we use Sumeru Resonance, or we can just simply switch now to Signora and do a skill and Cryo Resonance. Oh, no need to switch since opponent forced us to switch to Signora. Okay, so let's use the Sumeru, returning the Willows, the Cryo Resonance, and the Lotus Crypts. Hoping for a Jet. Oh, see, we got a Vanessa. And I was hoping for a Jet there, but it's okay. Gonna use Sunyata and hoping for another Jet and another useless Setaria. We got 3 Setaria already. Gonna cast this for fun since I'm annoyed that I got it again. But anyway, gonna use those Hydro Dice and use a normal attack for Signora. So let's draw. Oh, the crisp. The crisp is, how do I say this? It's a good card but I don't want to use it on a damage that is less than 2 or 3. Then it will stuck for a while in my hand cards and I will not be able to trigger Willows or Setaria. Okay, for next round, we can burst with Signora, triggering Jet and hoping that will be the game or the end of this game. And now switching to Layla since we cannot tank those
My mind
overload
is
damage.
completely blank.
I'm sorry Layla that I'm sacrificing you, but I hope you understand.
This is just a dream.
And now for round 4 or probably the last round, we can force a burst on Signora. But I think Dory will be able to kill our Dehya. Okay, so Pyro, Overload, yeah. So free switch on Signora.
Caught me.
And I'm worried that opponent might have a Adeptus, but if opponent has Adeptus, opponent will not have enough dice to do a Raiden Burst. but I think Raiden Burst is 9 damage since Emblem will add 2 damage on top of Raiden Burst. So gonna count it 8-3 burst damage plus overload 5 plus the 2 chakra 7 and emblem. So that's 9. So we're still alive. Yeah, so I think this game. So we just need to kill Raiden. Sacrificing or using the resonance, I mean. Then doing a normal attack. And another, I think I'm gonna go for burst here, hoping opponent will not surrender or quit. Okay, this is it. Please, please. Burst Let's go! So that's all. Thank you and bye.